Okay, succession. It's real simple. Ecosystems change over time, and they change for various reasons. Um, One, there could be a disturbance. Something changes or kills a lot of creatures in an area, a wildfire, a volcano, um, massive flooding. So it doesn't matter. There could be some massive disturbance is one. You could have some type of immigration of species. Some species could move in. For example, the killer bee has come in and has taken over a lot of the hives in a way, changing the dynamic of our natural honeybee. Or the killer wasp that were now destroying honeybee nests. Like, so some new creature could come in that changes the environment and the ecosystem that's going on there. Just the population change. The population change. The triangle here symbol, delta, if you recall it, it means change. It's kind of a shorthand. And then species die. They get outcompeted. They don't do well. They have a problem. It happens. All of these things lead to the process of, well, how does this ecosystem change? And what we do see is there is a kind of systematic approach. Things follow similar patterns, not identical every time, but similar patterns. And so we actually can break succession into two types. We have primary succession and secondary. Succession. Primary, new environment. A volcano explodes in the ocean and then makes a new island. We have a new rock to succeed. And so the key for a new environment is you need a pioneer species. You need something that actually locks down and takes over this area. For a lot of the islands around the Pacific, was a coconut. We have palm trees because coconuts would fall into the water and float and float and float until they wash up on shore, and they don't need much sand to make another tree. Storms help blow them up higher on shore, and sometimes the shores even went up due to volcanic or continental drift type of activities. So you need some type of pioneer species, something that's going to move and survive. Now, usually you need more than one. That was a plant species they give, then you need an animal to come in, or an insect, or a bug to keep things happening. So essentially, it starts making that habitat survivable for others then to come in. And then once that happens, it starts growing. One of the most common ones to take bare rock to that, and this is the one that tends to be named, is lichen. Lichen then becomes food for a lot of things. Lichen is this real, it's a protist, it's half plant, half bacteria. It's kind of a combo, and it can live right on rocks and survive on the nutrients on the rocks and minimal liquid. Secondary succession that we have here, this happens when there is some type of disturbance but not complete. Destruction. Before that. Some things died, but you know what's not there. A wildfire example came through, burned an area, but you know what? Some of the oak trees, their roots were deep. Some of the seeds in the soil weren't burned because the fire burned too fast across it. So now we have an opportunity for things to grow, but they're already kind of in place. So this is a secondary succession. This happens faster. It is harder to be a pioneer to go to a new land that doesn't have resources and make your way. This already has everything set. In fact, a lot of the organisms are there. They don't have to move. They just have to sustain and survive and develop themselves more. Eventually, this is going to lead to what we call a climax. let's explain this. So we have a wildfire burn through. The first thing you come back is small grasses. They go really fast, and so once those grasses come in, then you'll start seeing larger bushes start to develop, but the bushes will supplant the grasses. Now, in some of those bushes are not going to take up the whole way. You'll have larger trees, which then will shade the bushes, not allowing the bushes to thrive well, and then the trees will be there. And eventually, you'll have this more forest atmosphere, would be an example of a succession route. And eventually, you'll reach a climax community. This is what would be there if everything has developed and kind of sustained itself. Usually this is after some type of natural disturbance, and then it returns to its climax community. This can produce different climax communities, though. It does not have to be exactly as it was before after a disturbance, but it will reach one that sustains itself until there's another disturbance. We do have a lot of environments that have a routine disturbance. If we're doing fires, our hills are supposed to burn every 15 years. The last fire we had that we had to close school for, that was over 50 years ago that burned. So it was due. And so unfortunately, that's just the way environments refresh and replenish themselves to what we have. And so what we need to do in these cases, we need to study, well, how do these patterns exist? Do we like these patterns, and can we help sustain them and offer assistance to communities that better the environment that we live in? And so it's very important to study the patterns of succession. In that way, we can figure out how pioneer species come into an area and maybe assist in that to make more sustainable land and resources for us